up to 180 miles per hour.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. And I'm going to bring Jared Maloney, a meteorologist and producer, in here, and we're going to talk about that new update. He's a scientist, and it's remarkable. But before we do that, guys, I just want you to see the secondary camera. You notice I'm holding an iPhone here, and we are streaming, and I want to give you a look into the ocean, the Caribbean Sea, actually in the distance, about a quarter mile. So I'm going to just kind of move my camera, and you're going to see part of our complex compound that we're at that's going to keep us safe. And look at that as I zoom in there, and you see some of the activity, the winds and the ocean just getting churned up out there with those rains. It's interesting to see because these are outer bands, that we're experiencing. We have not even had landfall, and yet this is the beginning of hours upon hours of fury coming in to Jamaica. We are in the north central pocket of Jamaica right now, and we made the move from Kingston yesterday because we knew that we would be in heavy winds here. Not winds like what they're going to experience in the southwest part of Jamaica. Those potentially, well, they are unsurvivable if you are on that shore. We did not want to put ourselves in that position, but I do want to show you in the distance here before I bring Jared in. You see some of the mountainsides here with the fog and the clouds moving over and some of the rain, and the biggest concerns here is the flooding and also the debris when the winds start. All of this that's on the ground down here will be flying debris, projectiles. And then you have the 2-lane roads with the power outages that are going to happen because the poles will go down, and we will likely lose cell phone data, and the airports will be compromised. And how will that work for the aftermath with aid getting in here? Jared Maloney, please come on over here. And you can see Jared walking over. Jared, I want to ask you about the latest update right now from the National Hurricane Center and what we're dealing with.
So right now, if we do not strengthen even a little bit further, this is the second strongest landfall on record in the Atlantic. The only one that is stronger, the 1935 Labor Day hurricane, hit the Florida Keys. There was a railroad that connected the entire Florida Keys that was very well built and strong. It stood up to the sea for decades. That railroad was ripped apart and destroyed by the winds. In Jamaica, a lot of homes are really well built with reinforced concrete.
Like the one we're in right now, and if we can take the second shot as Jared continues to talk, I'll show you. Go ahead, Jared.
So, a lot of people are very confident in those homes standing up. In the landfall location, through experience and past history, a lot of those homes will fail. Even the most well-built structures are at risk with these winds. You can look at the footage and destruction of that storm to see that. And this is comparable to the strongest storms worldwide. Typhoon Haiyan, Typhoon Megi, Typhoon Meranti. This is as high end of a landfall event you can get pretty much worldwide, and we are still not done strengthening.
Jared, how did we get here? It is October, and this has been meandering. Melissa's been meandering for well over a week. How did we get here?
The ocean heat content in the Caribbean has been untapped this entire year. It's been extremely, extremely warm, and when storms stall, usually they churn up cooler water, and they weaken if they stay in the same place for too long. Because of how deep and warm this water is, despite how slow it was moving, it was able to keep intensifying, was able to keep working through its structural issues, its shear. And that has made this absolute monster this morning. I could tell you, I have never seen a satellite image as impressive as this. This is as impressive as Hurricane Patricia's at peak, as impressive as Haiyan's at peak of that satellite loop. And this landfall is going to be absolutely devastating on that southwest side, and it's going to maintain a lot of its strength even as it weakens crossing the island.
Jared, your knowledge of the history of hurricanes and landfalls is beyond impressive, and I have to ask you, what are we going to experience in our location in the coming hours?
So, depends on how far east we wobble. We do have a large, strong wind field to the east of this eye. If we wobble just into the eye wall, we will experience very, very strong windy conditions, mainly in gust form. They'll be in and out due to the land friction. It will be slightly less consistent than right by the coast. But at the spot we're at, about a quarter mile from the coast, is where the winds are going to actually start accelerating as they head offshore again. That'll be a little further down to the coast, but as that friction effect slows, the winds over the water are going to be much faster, and the winds behind that can move just a little bit quicker inland as they're fanning down.
what do you expect in the aftermath here? And while you're talking, I'm going to ask you to hold the mic because I'm going to push in on the Caribbean Sea here in the distance. So for our viewers, go ahead and tell our viewers what we should be expecting.
The western side of Jamaica will be completely unpassable. There will be massive tree destruction, like a tornado. If you saw the London tornado scar satellite images earlier this year, you can imagine even something like that over a wider area. The roads will be completely unpassable on that portion of the island. Now, granted, the other portion of the island isn't out of it. With all this heavy rain we're getting, the orographic lift off those high mountains to the east is that we're going to be dealing with flooding and blocked out roads, and the wind field will still take down power lines there too on that side of the island. The entire island will be incapacitated and travel will be very, very limited in the immediate aftermath. Getting these roads cleared is the first priority to establish these supply lines. After that, aid can really start to come in. The other concern we have is how much surge gets into Kingston Bay and does it take out the road leading to the airport? Right now, the winds are likely going to be high enough in Montego Bay to take that airport down for a while. If Kingston Airport is also incapacitated, there will be very difficult to impossible to get air travel into this island. And everything will have to be done by boat coming in, which is a little bit slower, and it's harder to get that immediate aid in. At this point, we should expect, we would need a massive international response to go and make sure that Jamaica can make it through this storm, because this will be the worst storm they've experienced in their history, and really in the Atlantic, worldwide, this will be one of the worst landfalls we've experienced in the modern era, or really across history.
Jared, thank you. Guys, if you're not going to learn any more than what Jared Maloney, meteorologist, field producer, just explained, we will continue this coverage live from the field. Thank you, Jared. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, and Robert, to you as well, getting the different shots. We know that the hurricane's going to become more intense as we watch this make that landfall. We do want to get to some analysis, though, Robert. We'll be checking in with you again at the bottom of this hour, so just in about 20 minutes or so. But let's analyze this thing, because it is remarkable what we have seen. Spanish Town, Jamaica, we've seen that live camera. We've been watching that. We also need to pay attention to what's going to be happening in Montego Bay. Montego Bay, we've already had reports of some sporadic power outages there. That's on the northwestern side of the island.
And we haven't even gotten a taste of the stronger winds at this point for Montego Bay.
And this has been a camera we've been able to use. It does look like that water is rising just a little bit. Just a remarkable storm when you look at the winds. 180 miles an hour, that north-northeast movement at 7 miles an hour. Jared had mentioned that it might do a little bit of a jog. The National Hurricane Center explicitly saying that this might take a slightly more northeastward jog, which would be in theory a little closer to Kingston, but still not going to have the eye wall move over Kingston, which is some good news.
Yeah, when we're talking about jog, we're talking about slight deviations, distance.
Yeah, just a little bit. 896 pressure, though, is a remarkable sub 900 pressure reading that we've had. And looking at where we're getting some of the data, Britta, this is so important too, because we've got NOAA. It was the P3 yesterday that researchers pilot on that flight. They encountered some severe turbulence in the southwestern portion of Melissa's eye wall. They had to go back to Lakeland. But the Air Force, the C-130s, they're the ones that just made that pass through the center. That's where the data is coming from, 180 mile per hour winds. And you look at what we've seen, it's obvious and evident that we've got the eye wall. This was their inbound flight winds. They are going to be heading out, and so you're going to see the outbound winds. That's also going to skyrocket, but it's right around here. You can clearly see where that eye is. I mean, plummets. It's quiet.
Very, very evident. Yeah. Also, when you're talking about an eye of this size, there's going to be a very eerie, at least 45-minute, and you have to estimate, because again, the forward motion of this storm is trending faster, which is actually a good trend. We're already in a really tough situation. We don't need this to be drawn out any longer than it does. But can you imagine 45 minutes-ish of complete calm when you just had what felt like an EF3 or EF4 tornado rip through for hours on end.
Yeah.
It's a wild experience that is very rarely captured, especially during daylight. We're going to have some images come in that are just incredible. Where Robert's team is set up, if you can sort of put, it's kind of by Ocho
Just to the
Rios.
west.
It's just to the west of there.
Yep.
So they're not going to have interaction with the eye or the eye wall, but they will have that ferocious east dirty side of the storm. Black River to Treasure Beach, that's going to be the impact zone, and where we will have infrastructure likely fail completely. That is what is expected.
We have the eye, which has remained roughly 10 nautical miles. That's a little less than 12 miles in diameter. And looking at the size of this eye and how, I know Brian had even mentioned how it maybe, if you track it from overnight, it has tried to maybe appear like it's expanding. Maybe it is going to be going through an eye wall replacement cycle, but it still looks very healthy from this perspective.